Hello and welcome to Inside the Mind of, a podcast where I dive deeper into the minds of some of my favorite people and people who inspire me in the wrestling community. Today, I have one of the hosts of the Code of Honor podcast on Body Slam Net, co-creator of Romanticized Wrestling, one half of Tag Talk on Fightful Overbooked, Kiley Fuller. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here with you. I can already tell that we're going to be besties. We're going to be best friends by the end of this.
I love doing these with women because women just constantly hype each other up. It's my favorite thing. And we were talking before, episode previous of this one when these come out is your tag partner, Haley. And so it was just constant hype between the two of us. Now hopefully it's just constant hype between me and you. The three of us are just best friends.
Yeah, listen, we're good at what we do, and you know what? So, sometimes women, we just form bonds because women are just great. And greatness recognizes greatness. And that's just the truth.
Bridget. Literally. And just, we are the new, it's not Chuck Taylor, Trent, Orange Cassidy. No. Kiley, Haley, Katie.
Yeah, new and improved.
Better than the original best friends?
Listen, they're great and they deserve their flowers, but sometimes, it gets old and you need something new to replace it that's a little bit better, and I think that's us.
Honestly, couldn't agree more. We can even have Chris Statlander join too. Women.
Yeah, of course. It's always better.
Women are better than men. I'm sorry to any men listening, which is the majority of the audience. I'm so sorry.
Listen, they do it to themselves. They do it to themselves. If you're a man listening and you're offended, I need you to realize that you do it to yourself. And that if you want to be great, then you have to fix yourself.
That's just great life advice in general. Everybody listening? Are you writing it down? Good.
Yeah. Right. You know what? I have so much life advice. Years of therapy will do it to you. But you know what? If you know what? Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna put that in my Twitter bio. Just great life advice. That's gonna be my new thing.
Honestly, I love it. I expect it. I can't wait to see more. And that's even one of the questions later is just advice. So we'll even dive way deeper into that conversation. Ooh. I hope you're ready.
We got a little bit of a teaser.
A little bit of a sprinkle. Give people a little bit. Gotta give people what they want. Sticking with the best friends theme here. So, Kiley, how did you get your start in podcasting?
Yeah, so Cassidy Haynes at Body Slam, he was looking to bring in people to do podcasts, and he was specifically looking to bring in women because he wanted to give women a platform. And so I'd been on wrestling Twitter, just, casually with my friends and whatever. And I decided that I would just give it a go because I was doing, nothing really at the time. And podcasting seemed fun. So I DM'd him and he said, of course. And a week later, I was doing interviews and podcasts and all the things. So it was really fast. I haven't been doing this even a year yet. I think I started in November of 2021. But listen, I owe a lot to Cassidy Haynes for really trusting me with that, because he really just, threw me into the water and it was sink or swim. So.
Yeah. Oh my. See, I never would have guessed not even a year.
Yeah, Haley too. We started about the same time. So it's really crazy that we started around the same time, and we've just been, I feel like we work so well together. Everything we've done for the most part has been together. And I don't know, I'm just so grateful for the opportunities I've gotten at Body Slam. And, you know this, but as a woman in wrestling media, it can be very hard.
Yep.
And I'm so I'm so grateful to the women in the community who have really just taken what I've done and, given me advice to improve it, promoted my stuff, really hyped me up, because I feel like we said earlier, that's just what women do. And in wrestling media, it's super important.
Oh, yeah. There are very few wrestling podcasts I can think of off the top of my head that are all women, let alone have a woman on the show. Those Wrestling Girls, Down for the Count, like Wrestling Wind Down. Those are like the three off the top of my head I can name, obviously besides you and Haley, like that I can name that are all women.
Yeah.
And that's three of how many fucking podcasts are there?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of viewers, they treat, if there is a podcast that has, more than one woman, they think it's like some niche thing, or they expect them to talk about women's wrestling, which is important, and everyone loves women's wrestling. But I don't know, it's just so hard. There's such a stigma on women in wrestling. It's so hard to overcome it. And I've definitely learned that. But I think there's a lot of really great people coming up in the wrestling media sort of world. And a lot of the bad people in the community are sort of like they're getting rejected. They're off in their own little corner doing whatever it is they do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just such a weird time to be involved in wrestling media. But I do feel like, especially in the last 2 years, the number of women has increased, and it's because we really support each other.
Yeah, and we need to, because this wrestling in general is dominated by men. Wrestling media in general is dominated by men. The very few of us women in this business, I guess, even though I'm not making money off of anything I do, but we all need to stick together and continue to put ourselves up and each other up, because A, we all deserve it, B, we're all fantastic at what we do in some way, shape, or form, and C, I think I was using letters, we have to prove that we can, and it sucks that we have to prove we can hold our own with the men.
Yeah, and I feel there are a lot of viewers who do appreciate the perspective of a woman in wrestling, and the unique ideas we might have about an issue or a story in wrestling, or a topic of some kind, because I do think that your experience as a woman, or as a minority of any kind, I think that it lends a lot to wrestling and wrestling analysis and storytelling and all those sort of things. And I do think there's a lot of more wrestling fans now that really appreciate that than there has been. Because I think there's a lot more young people who are getting involved in wrestling, and young people, not to generalize or anything, but I do think a lot more young people are more inclusive, and they're more they appreciate diversity a lot more than maybe the older fans. And I don't want to generalize or say anything, of course there's older fans who are the same way. But I think we're in a period where wrestling media is really evolving, and I think women are at the forefront of that, women and minorities. So that's not to say that men are going to be pushed out of wrestling media before anyone turns this into something super dramatic like they always do in wrestling.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's just such a fun time, and so many people are doing so many great things, and there's so much great content. I'm just so excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been doing it like a lot longer than you. I'm going on 2 years this month. Actually, oh god, yeah, this month. As we record this, we're recording this in August, but yours is actually coming out in the first week of September. Yeah, so I like completely forgot. I like screenshot my post on, because I did like a 1 year of podcasting tweet last year, because I'm me, so like I have the date. I think it was like August 14th or something, so that means I have to do something for that coming up, now that I remember. So even though you're only about not even a year deep, do you have a favorite episode you have recorded, whether that be anything with you and Haley on Tag Talk, anything on Code of Honor, any interview you've done, anything you've been a guest on?
Oh, I have so many favorites. Like, so many things came to mind.
Go for it.
But I think my number one favorite is on Tag Talk. We did an FTR deep dive episode, because Haley and I, we're really big tag team wrestling fans. We're really big FTR fans. So we decided we were going to do that deep dive episode. And we both watched so many matches and so much content to put that episode together. And it was just such an enjoyable time. Like, I love, and I've said this on, other podcasts, but I really love doing things that I'm passionate about, but like, and doing them with passion, like putting my whole heart into it. So that was one of those things. I also, another favorite, just because these are such great people, I was on True Heel Heat, maybe a few weeks back. It was right around the time when like Stephanie became interim CEO in WWE, and like it was all this turmoil. And that was the first time I had been on a show with SP3. And he's such a great person, and he just welcomed me with open arms, and he was so kind and so polite. And for me, that being a part of that show and working with those guys, that really, because I was getting a little bit burnt out, I'll be honest. That really made me feel like, okay, like if I can fit with SP3 and we can gel well together, like I can do this. I can be a part of wrestling media and, you know, contribute something valuable to it. So as much as the topic of that show was a little not great, I do feel like SP3, you know, and Romeo bringing me on because they wanted, you know, a female voice to talk about Stephanie and these issues with Vince McMahon. I don't know. I just felt like, okay, I can do something valuable. So that's definitely one of my favorite things I've done.
Okay. See, I love when, so like my former podcast before I created this, I was the only female. So fun.
Rough position, man.
it was a time, I felt the burnout. I did feel like I was the only one kind of more so focused on the women's wrestling, which is why, like, I make sure I do, like, a today in women's wrestling history thing every weekly show I do. Just random things I find on, like, Pro Fight Database or something, because there's some things I completely forgot about, or just random all-women indie promotions that have shows. I'm like, these names on here are incredible. So, like, I understand just back to the topic, I understand being, like, the only woman, or being brought on to get a female perspective, which, it's like a double-edged sword, because you're very honored that somebody's bringing you on, but then it's also like, what if they don't appreciate my opinion? What if they, like, their audience doesn't like me or my opinion kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's already an uphill battle to be placed in a position where you would be invited onto another person's show, regardless of your gender or anything. But as a woman, it's even harder because it's like you said, I feel like sometimes we're pigeonholed as the female voice. And I think that's important because, like I said earlier, our perspective is important. But it's when someone really values that perspective, but also encourages you to talk about other things that aren't just related to your gender identity. I don't know. I just feel like it's just so, there, like you said, it's a double-edged sword, but it's a little gratifying to sort of overcome that and really, and the True Heel Heat guys are great. I'm talking in general. And it is sort of gratifying to be able to, you know, find your voice and push back against things that you think are not okay, or things that, you know, you aren't comfortable with. Because I think when a lot of people start in wrestling media, they take any and every opportunity. And maybe you should take some opportunities, but I think especially as women, it's okay to say no to things and not to do things if you think maybe I'm not a great fit for this spot, or maybe like this isn't, you know, something I'm interested in, or maybe it makes me uncomfortable. And I think we're getting to a place now where a lot more people are okay with that. And it took me a while to become okay with that and saying no to things and only doing things that really interest me, or, you know, where I'm placed with people who I think value me and value my opinion, and, you know, so on. So I don't know. I just have so many great memories with so many great people in wrestling media. I could talk for ages about them.
Well, so this could kind of lead into the next thing. As much as, like, you've had, like, great moments with people, any unexpected moments that happen while you were on a show, or it can just be anything in wrestling media that kind of just caught you off guard, anything that made you go, like, what the hell, bust out laughing, just, like, derail a show, anything you can think of off the top of your head?
Well, there's definitely a few things. So I think a lot of people in wrestling media, it's basically a foregone conclusion that you film a show and then something major happens afterwards.
Every time I do a show.
Yeah, so I have so many stories, like the Vince McMahon retirement, that happened. For a code of honor, We did a few episodes that were all about Ring of Honor history because we started the show. This is the big one. We started the show. And I can't recall if we had filmed an episode yet or if we had scheduled a time to film it. But basically, the week after Kyle and I, who's my co-host, we decided, okay, we're going to do this Ring of Honor podcast. We're going to talk all about history because at the time, Ring of Honor was on hiatus and it was basically never going to come back.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we're going to talk about Ring of Honor history. Like, Kyle and I were both very, story-oriented, so we could break down some stories. We could do all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, a week later, Tony Khan's like, hey, I have an announcement. And then we watched Dynamite, and sure enough, Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor. So the entire direction of the show changed from that point, because now we have to talk Ring of Honor news and Ring of Honor matches and all this sort of stuff, which we love to do because we're both big Ring of Honor fans.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a curveball because neither of us signed on to do, a podcast that was like that. We were going to talk about Ring of Honor in Japan and Ring of Honor, Dalton Castle and, Jimmy Jacobs and all the people we love.
Yeah.
But that was definitely my biggest, what moment was Tony Khan being like, hey, I bought Ring of Honor and I have this brand new podcast that we had all the promotional material ready for, the tweets were ready for this history podcast, and now we have to bring it all back in. So that was definitely my biggest one.
See, I always do ShElite on Thursdays, and for some reason, every Friday, big news drops, like, Vince retiring was on a Friday, and just it's every time. I tell my co-host Savannah every week, I'm like, well, we got a lot to talk about because everything happens the day after we record. So my news and rumors list is like this big. It just grows every week now because something else happens.
It's crazy. And then if you decide that you're going to film on the weekend, you have to contend with pay-per-views.
Yep.
So you're like, am I going to talk about the pay-per-view after it happens, or am I going to preview it? Because if I film on Saturday, then it hasn't happened. But if I film on Sunday, then it probably happened. Yep. It's a hard life being in wrestling media.
It really is, especially like if you do. So like I used to do weekly recaps, or show recaps, like after each show during the week. Never again. I told myself I'm never doing a show-by-show recap ever again. It was too much for me. I couldn't do it. So doing this weekly recap, basically it's just news and rumors, and then our favorite wrestlers of the week. Way easier. I had to talk about everything that happened in SummerSlam, but Bayley, Io, and Dakota return to SummerSlam. So I was okay talking about that. It really is the worst. You're so excited for a show. I've had breaking news on my show a few times because I happen to check my phone and I look on Twitter and it's I'm trying to think of one of the last things that happened. Ishii got injured and was taken out of that Fatal 4-Way for Forbidden Door. I was on air on my phone, just happened to scroll, and I saw that from a few people. I was like, "Are you breaking news?" It's terrible.
That's always the worst because now you're like, okay, well, I have to talk about this on my show, but where am I going to talk about this on my show? It's always the worst.
Yeah, if I happen to be on my phone, which I occasionally am on my shows. I was really bad at it last year, constantly just looking down, looking at my phone. I am always just Savannah, I hate to cut you off, and then I just say it because at this point I don't care. I'm I feel the people need to know. Adds anticipation to the show, especially if there are people in the chat. They're just whoa, what happened? And then I have to try and figure out more information as the show goes. And 9 times out of 10, I can't. But it gives the people a little bit of variety, I guess is the word I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, it's a little bit of spice.
Just a little bit. 1 pepper emoji, not 2.
Yeah, that's all you need, though.
Honestly, true. Very true. So, besides all of the podcasts and things you do you have any other hobbies that you like to do?
Oh, well, I have so many hobbies. So, well, my biggest hobby is that and I think if you follow me on Twitter, you know about this. I love to get tattoos. I get tattoos all the time. I have so many. I'm also a historian by trade. Like, I work in history, in global history.
Okay.
So I do a lot of stuff with that. I don't talk about it a whole lot on Twitter because a lot of the work that I do is kind of divisive. But maybe I'll share it at one point, and you could see. But one of my big hobbies is like reading history articles and engaging with. It sounds so boring, and I'm so sorry, but just engaging with like scholars in the field and like keeping up with ideas in history and things like that. Because it's kind of at a point where we're at a crossroads with the scholarship in history. So tattoos, history. I love to watch. I do watch some TV, but like I have really bad ADHD, so I hyperfixate on the show. Mm-hmm. So like my show right now is What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
And like, it's listen, if anyone is listening to this, go watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's so funny. It's basically just about vampires, and it's so funny. And I watch a ton of YouTube, just endless YouTube. And I got into TikToks. I've been making wrestling TikToks.
Oh wait, I think I literally just saw your one about Kenny Omega.
Listen. And the people who are listening to this they'll be like, when did this happen? But as we're recording this, there's like a bunch of drama on wrestling Twitter right now.
Yep.
And so I like made a TikTok that was like, basically it was the filter where you tap and the letters come up. And I was like, the first word is what will happen when I meet Kenny Omega. And the first word that came up was WED, wed. So like, it's funny, haha, like I'm going to marry Kenny Omega, right? Like the dream. But I went to post it on Twitter and everyone is fighting.
Shocker.
They're at war. The girls are fighting. So I was like, I guess I'm just going to drop my TikTok, my funny Kenny Omega TikTok in the middle of this war zone that is Twitter. I love my wrestling TikToks. I think I'm very funny.
Listen, I'm going to have to follow you on TikTok now to find these.
Listen, I have some good ones. I think you'll like them.
I do love me some good. I love me some TikTok. I was real into it like last year or even a few months ago. Now it's like I'll go on every once in a while and like laugh my ass off because people are funny. But I'm more on like. I always tell people like I'm on like either the dancing side where like people are really talented because I love watching people dance because they're so good, or the kinky side of TikTok, and then all of my things get exposed and I get very uncomfortable. I'm like, how do you know these things about me?
It's scary, that algorithm sometimes.
It is.
Like I'm on right now, currently, I'm on like mental health TikTok. Yep. And it's all like things I didn't know about myself before I was diagnosed. And I'm like, I'm seeing myself in a whole new light now.
I don't like those because I'm like, do I have this? It makes me overthink.
Yes. And I always tell my therapist, I'm like, this person on TikTok said I might have this thing because I do this one very specific behavior. And she's always like, well, don't you think that maybe they're lying? And I'm like, oh, you know what? You're probably right.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. No, people on the internet lying?
Who would have thought?
Not here.
And listen, and this is super, super niche, but I'm also on the side of TikTok that talks about you. Okay. And I don't know this girl's name. Her name is Alice, and she has like a child named, it's named after a plant. I don't remember the name of the plant. I'm sorry. But basically she's like super, like, they call her crunchy. Like she's into like organic food and like all the sort of things. And I'm on the side of TikTok that like just makes memes about her. And I've never met this woman. I've never seen this woman's content. But somehow TikTok decided I want memes about her.
What the fuck? TikTok, are you okay?
I don't know. I'm on mental health TikTok. I'm on dog TikTok. I see a lot of dogs. My favorite TikTok maker currently is a girl who she goes to McDonald's every morning and gets an iced coffee, and she says, is my McDonald's coffee crick or crack? Like, is it crick water or is it crack? Every morning. It's great. I love it.
I love that though. TikTok really does have something for everybody. Like they really do. Like I've gone through the ringer with TikTok. Like I've been in so many different parts on there. How I haven't figured everything out, I don't know. How I'm not running the world, I don't know. Like,
TikTok is the wildest app. Like, you can't control it. You can't control anything you see.
No. Even if you're, like, not interested, it'll still show up somehow. Someone related to that person or a remake of that video, it'll show up. It doesn't matter.
It's like Howie Mandel and all these things he's putting on TikTok. Have you seen this?
I feel like I did, but then I don't. Again, we talked about this earlier. My brain is not functioning properly for some reason. I can't remember shit. So I don't. What did he do now?
So, well, first of all, I didn't remember who he was until I saw this. So he put up a TikTok like a few weeks ago. It was like a prolapsed anus, like a picture of it, or like a video of it, I mean. And so, but then he deleted it. People were like, Howie, you're so unhinged. And now it's just like his gimmick. Like, he just posts the most absurd thing. Like, recently I saw one. I don't even follow him. He just comes up on my For You page.
Yeah.
He put his head under like a frozen yogurt machine and made his head like an ice cream cone.
What? Now, that's some shit, because Howie is one of the biggest germaphobes in the world. So why is he making himself an ice cream cone?
I don't know. This man is wild. I don't know what's going on.
Howie Mandel, if you're listening to this, why are you unhinged? The people want answers.
I'm also, listen, that just made me think of this. I don't know why. I'm also on Irish Barack Obama TikTok.
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
Irish Barack Obama. So there's a village, like a little town in Ireland, who, I don't know how they decided to do this or what happened, but they looked at Barack Obama's family tree and found out his ancestors were from that village. So now they have a gas station that's like a shrine to Barack Obama. And there's a song where it's like, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, there's no one as Irish as Barack Obama. There's like a song.
I hope my phone is somehow listening to this. I want this to come on my For You page later. I want to see Irish. If it happens, I'm posting it on your Twitter. I'm be like, oh my god, look at this. I'm gonna have to keep on contact.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
I literally wrote that down too. Irish Barack Obama. What the fuck? I love this. We might just have to have a whole conversation later about, like, another whole podcast about TikTok.
Listen, I'm here for it. TikTok is wild. There's no censorship.
No. At all.
It's the Wild West. The Wild West.
It's like YouTube back in like 2010. It's the fucking Wild West.
Those were the golden ages of YouTube, though.
Oh yeah.
You could get away with anything.
Anything and everything, and people did.
Oh, they did.
Oh, they did. I love the TikTok talk. Is that the name?
Podcast ID.
Podcast? Nobody steal it. It's ours.
Trademarked.
You can't take it. So I always like hearing people's answers to this one. Do you remember the show on the network, not the cock, the Table for Three that WWE had? Yeah. So, if you could have a dinner with any 3 wrestlers, dead or alive, who would you pick and why?
So I'd pick Kenny Omega because he's my ride or die.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys are married.
Yes, of course. Your invite to the ceremony, it's on the way. It's in the mail.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
I would pick Eddie Guerrero so I could ask him about the custody of Dominic ladder match. Because, okay, just as a little side note, I had a Raw 10th anniversary, not Raw, SmackDown 10th anniversary DVD set that I had gotten as a gift, like when I was a kid. And one of the biggest segments on there was this story of Eddie Guerrero trying to steal Rey Mysterio's child.
Yup.
And I was, as a child, when I was little, I was so scandalized.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
Like, this is so crazy. He's trying to steal this little boy. So, I need the story about that, of course. One more. maybe like Roddy Piper, just for the memes.
Specifically for memes. I love that.
Listen, I don't, like, if Roddy Piper sat at a table with Eddie Guerrero and Kenny Omega, I don't know what I think he would combust. Like, I don't think he'd be able to handle it.
Oh no. Listen, that's a pun intended, rowdy table you got going on there. I love it.
It's chaos.
Pure chaos. That's all you need. That makes dinner more entertaining. Can't have a boring dinner and just talk about no. You need the characters. You need the random outbursts. You need chaos.
Yeah, and I'll just sit there eating my food, listening to it. You know?
Maybe film a little. Just
dinner and a show.
Dinner and a show. Make TikToks with Kenny.
I'll show him the TikTok that said we're going to get married. And the TikTok, it was like, what will happen when I meet Kenny Omega? So I'm going to meet Kenny Omega at the dinner, and then I'm going to show him, and then he's going to propose, and then we'll get married.
See, guys, are you listening? It's all coming together. Brainstorming it out.
Love fate.
Fate, we love her. Karma, she the bitch.
Yes. But sometimes we like her, because sometimes...
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. You don't even gotta finish. I understand completely. Also, I love when people bring up, like, now that Dom's wrestling, when people bring up, like, Eddie being his real dad, which you can't even really deny it anymore. Do you see this kid's mullet? He looks like Eddie in the 90s.
Listen, and part of me wonders if it's like, you know, art becomes reality. Like, if he's grown up thinking that Eddie Guerrero is his dad, and so he's, like, becoming him.
Yeah, because, like, you have to think, back then, Dom was this baby little bleach blonde boy, and here he is now looking like Latino Heat 2.0.
Yes, it's weird.
It's so weird.
And when you think about it, that story and, like, everything that they made that child do, he has to have trauma.
If
like,
he
there's
doesn't,
gotta be something.
I'd be surprised.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, subconsciously he's becoming Eddie because he's traumatized by the ladder match.
When he turns, hopefully by the time this comes out, he's already turned on Rey Mysterio, and we're just speaking into the ether. Because, like, it's gotta happen. He's gonna turn on Rey. Like, he has to.
Yeah, you would think so.
You would think. Hopefully. Because I think that's good storytelling.
Fingers crossed. I don't know. It's a new era in WWE, and, you know, we're recording this, it's only been like 2 weeks, so we don't know.
You know, that is true. Hopefully, when this comes out, everything we've said has come true. Kiley's already married to Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Dumb turn on Rey.
Yeah.
You know, just...
We'll make a checklist, and then we'll come back, and we'll debrief together.
Yes, I love that. We'll do it on TikTok Talk. We'll have a nice debrief. Yes!
The dots are connecting.
Do you see it? Do you guys see the picture we're making? You should. So everyone got a little sprinkle of this earlier. Do you have any advice? Now that can be for wrestling media, personal, just podcasting in general. Any advice you want people to know?
Well, I think with podcasting, my biggest advice, well, maybe there's two things. One is don't shy away from your audience. Like, if you want to really have a successful podcast and you want to get opportunities, you need to engage with your audience in a productive way. This isn't you, like, podcasts, and I think a lot of people get in this rut where they think a podcast should be them, like, lecturing to people, like they're a professor or something. Mm-hmm. But podcasts are so much more enjoyable as a viewer when they're interactive. So make opportunities to interact with your listeners and your viewers. Like, you're forming a little community there. So you should, you know, there's a lot of great people on Twitter, you know, as much as, you know, everyone's fighting and currently they're at war with one another. There's a lot of great people. So my second piece of advice, which is, you know, life advice too, is just seek out those people and really set boundaries with the people who don't, you know, benefit you in some way. Like, even if it's someone, like, on Twitter, even if it's someone who has, like, 20,000 followers and they're, you know, the big guys in the IWC or whatever community you're in. Don't be afraid to like shut them down. Like just because someone has a platform or a presence or something doesn't mean you're obligated to put yourself in a position where you're uncomfortable or you're upset to please them. Like, really know your worth in podcasting, on Twitter, on social media, in life, and set your boundaries. Because if you don't set your boundaries and you don't really stick to them, then people are going to walk all over you. And it's not a matter of being like weak or being strong or anything that people will have you say. It's just a matter of like really growing as a person and protecting your peace and just seeking out things in life that make you happy or make you feel fulfilled or satisfied or something like that, instead of just having no boundaries and letting everything come to you. So that's something I definitely had to learn, and I'm gonna say as I got older, which I'm not old, but but as I got older, I really had to learn that not everyone in the world had my best interests in mind. So that's probably like my biggest piece of life advice, is like, no one is going to protect your interests or protect you or like seek to make you happy. Like, you have to do it. So taking active steps to like better yourself or taking active steps to make yourself happy, like you have to like consciously grab a hold of it and really like push yourself into that zone. So that's my biggest piece of life advice.
Honestly, I love it. All of it. That's one of my favorite things, is when people give advice. A lot of it is very similar to like know your worth. The more I think about it. And it's not always just like black and white. It's a lot of gray areas in advice. Like, it's not just for life. It's not just for podcasting. It's just everyday general advice.
Yeah, and I think we need a lot more of that, of just advice on mundane things about life. Like, I think people, and this is going to sound a little cynical, but like, let me explain. I think people like to think that life is going to become this grand thing, that there's something like that everyone should strive to be extraordinary in all aspects of themselves. Taking steps to really be comfortable with being ordinary and like focusing on you and being happy, instead of trying to like climb the social ladder or gain recognition or get inside an exclusive group or something like that. Mm-hmm. Finding comfort in the mundane and just really living your life and doing what you want to do. Spending your money on things that you want to spend your money on. Yep. Like things that make you happy, instead of things that you think you're expected to spend your money on. For me, really beginning like 2020 to 2021, I was like, and this is gonna take a little bit of a sad turn, but I was like, if I don't, choose to make myself happy now, like there's no way I'm making it through 2021. Mm-hmm. Like, I've had like my bouts with depression, over the course of my life, but like that was like the pandemic. It was like, oof. So I was like, New Year 2021, I was like, okay, what can I do to really make myself happy? And like my big things were like, well, I don't want to keep spending my money on things that I don't want to spend my money on. Mm-hmm. So like, and this is open and honest and transparent. Like, I have a cheap apartment. I don't spend my money on a car or car insurance because I don't need to. I live in like a good location. I'm fine with like walking in my bike. And like, I really like took out all the things that were like stressing me out, like car payments and car insurance and bills and all the things. And I was like, well, what can I spend my money on that makes me happy? And it was travel. And a lot of people on Twitter like ask me all the time, well, how do you afford to travel and go to all these wrestling shows? And it's just like, I really prioritized that because it makes me happy. And it really transformed my life to have this realization that like, I'm in control of my things. And like all these things that I think I have to do in life are just other people trying to push me into a position that, one, I'll be unhappy in, two, doesn't benefit me in any way. It benefits someone else. Mm-hmm. So like take control of yourself and look at your own life. Take the time to like reflect on yourself. What are some things that make you happy, and how can you use those as, you know, a core component of your life? Like, what are some things that make you unhappy, and can you cut those out of your life? That can be people, that can be,
Yep.
you know, where you're living. Like, if you can get out of where you're living, that's great. If you can cut, you know, toxic friends, toxic family members, all this stuff out of your life, like that's great. But like, it's an active process. Like, you can't just do it and then just be like, okay, like life's great. Like, you have to constantly be thinking about your own happiness, and that's just the society we live in, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's probably like my biggest life revelation, is like seeking, like placing myself first, and, you know, really being the person who controls myself.
Thank you for opening up about everything you were going through. You did not have to, and I appreciate it, and hopefully everybody else will too. I always think, my one friend always says that people for some reason think they can like open up to me and just tell me things like they don't tell anybody else. I'm like, well, I almost was a therapist, so I guess this kind of makes sense. Almost didn't actually happen, but it was close. So yeah, again, thank you for opening up about that. And it's true though, putting yourself first is one of the hardest things. I still don't do it all the time. I always tell people, you need to put yourself first. Here I am not putting myself first, because that's just how I am as a person. I don't listen to my own advice. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's, you know, like I said, like, it's an active thing, like, and not to get too like deep and complex or whatever, but there's a lot of things that maybe we're taught to think or taught to do that maybe benefit others, but they don't necessarily support us as individuals. Mm-hmm. So there's, when you decide like, okay, I'm gonna fix my life because I want to be happy, you have to like stick with that, and you're gonna have to do a lot of unlearning of things that maybe your parents taught you, or, you know, your community or whatever. Mm-hmm. You have to unlearn a lot of things and realize that, you know, setting your boundaries isn't selfish. That was a big thing I had to learn. Like, you know, working tirelessly to please people, like being a people pleaser, you know, choosing not to do that doesn't make me selfish. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you have to constantly remind yourself, because you will, like you said, you will fall back into those patterns where you're like, you're so stressed, or you're burnt out, or you're upset. But then you sit back and you're like, oh, it's because I'm doing X, Y, and Z, mm-hmm. instead of this thing that I know will make me happy and will support my goals.
I agree 100%. And so that kind of leads into the next question, and this is one I also really love the answer. Love when people answer it. If you had to write an autobiography to this point in your life, what would be the title and why?
Oh. See, and like, that's such a crazy thing, because the person I was 10 years ago is completely not recognizable. Mm-hmm. And like, there's a few people like who know about like my upbringing and things. But I think the title of my autobiography would just be something very simple. It would just be like, maybe just like unlearning, or like transformation, or something, because my entire adult life has been me fixing things that I had experienced, or things that I had been taught in the past, and like really overcoming that. And I think now, looking back with the knowledge that I've gained, I can see like myself as a preteen and as a teen, I was really in that fight, but like I didn't have the skills to really do it. Yeah. So a lot of like in high school, and I did everything I could. Like, I went to firefighting school in high school. I went to EMT school in high school. I was in all AP classes. I was in every club you could imagine, because I was trying to really like fill a void that I had mm-hmm. in myself. And, you know, looking back, you know, hindsight is 20/20. But I really do think that I was trying to fix things that I had perceived were like bad things that I had done, or bad things that I had thought or believed because of my upbringing. So I feel like my autobiography would really be about this like internal struggle that I've had, and I'm coming out the other side of it we had a long struggle, lots of therapy, lots of crying. But up until this point, that's really how my life has been, is like me trying to find my place in the world, free from like, these people who are saying this and these people who are saying that and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. It's you ever, like, if people haven't, like, if you ever just like stop and think about how you were or who you were 5-10 years ago, 9 times out of 10 you are a completely different person. If you aren't, I have questions as to why you're not, but most of the time it's like I've seen pictures of myself from high school and I'm only 26, and like, so looking back when I was like 16, I was like, she doesn't know what she's doing in life. She's just an entity living. That's it. She's just going through day by day.
Yeah, and I definitely I think a lot of people who look back like 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, and they don't think they're a different person, I think that they maybe just aren't looking deep enough, because I think it's impossible to live your life and not change in significant ways. Yeah. Like, I think that's just a part of life, that you meet new people, you experience new things, and like who you are does change. And if you don't see it, then you're just not looking hard enough. That's just the truth of it. Yeah. But me in high school, I don't even know how to describe who I was. I didn't sleep a whole lot because I was doing so many things, but I also just like had a routine and I just floated through it. I just did what I had to do, and then I went home and I slept and I did what I had to do. Like, I had very few interests outside of, school and all the things that I was doing. Mm-hmm. And I think like I don't have a lot of memories of like my childhood or, even my middle school years. But high school was like a transformative period for me. Like, I really began to realize who I was. And like, I have little, flashback memories of these moments where I'm like, oh, I actually don't like this. So I don't know why I'm doing it. But it was, and then by the time I finished high school, like, comparing friends, crazy.
Yeah, I think there was maybe like a handful of friends I still have now that I was friends with in high school. Mm-hmm. Like, a very few. Because people change.
Yeah.
People grow apart.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just like the natural thing that happens. I have one very close friend from high school, which is ironic because we got in a big fight in high school and graduated not as friends, but then we became friends again later. Okay. Crazy. Then my best friend from high school, we grew apart in college. But like, we're still acquaintances, like we're friends on Facebook or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I keep up with these people's lives, but I just feel like I went on this path and a lot of them stayed on the same path we were in high school. Mm-hmm. And like you said, people grow apart, but like, and I think maybe this is another piece of life advice. I think we need to realize that we shouldn't take that personally. I think a lot of people, when, they grow apart from their friends, they really think, oh, well, maybe I didn't try hard enough to be their friend, or maybe I said something wrong or whatever. But that's just how friendships work. It's very, very rare to find a friendship that lasts, your entire life. So just appreciating people when they're in your life, and not, unless of course you have a major blow up fight or whatever, and not stressing too hard if you guys grow apart. I think that's just like the natural flow of life. And people, we just need to find some sort of like comfort there. Something, just appreciate people now. Like, don't worry about that or worry about then.
See, I love this. This is great. So, to kind of steer topics again. Now, I told you this is coming out in a month after we record. So, for the next maybe like month or two, do you want to tell people like what the future plans are for you? Any of the podcasts, anything coming up you want to talk about and plug now, because this will be out in September.
Yeah, so August is going to be like a big month, like leading up to All Out. Haley and I, we founded, Romanticized Wrestling. Basically, it's all about stories in wrestling. It's storytelling, and really we want to take sort of like a literature based perspective on it and analyze wrestling, like its symbolism and things. And Haley really kicked that off today. She I'm gonna plug her article. She wrote an article on Body Slam, bodyslam.net, which was all about Hangman Page and like the butterfly effect. And like it started with this butterfly jeans, like the symbol of it, and she took it and ran with it. And that's sort of what we want to do with romanticized wrestling, because I think, look, now you got me on a tangent. I think in 2022, a lot of what people enjoy in wrestling is like the athleticism and the physical stuff, which is fun. It's important, but it's like someone did a 450 and then everyone can do a 450. So it's like everyone's the same. And then someone does a 630 and then everyone can do a 630 and everyone's the same. But it's like what sets apart like the truly great wrestlers, like the Kenny Omegas and the Roman Reigns of the world, is their ability to tell a story and like make you feel something emotionally, like get you invested in what they're doing. And so romanticized wrestling is all about taking, you know, weekly analysis of wrestling, or, you know, our news and discussions and all this stuff, all the wrestling media stuff, and really bringing it back to the stories. Like, what can we take away from all the stuff that happened from a story perspective? And so our big thing is like the Hung Bucks. And it's become a meme at this point, just people tagging us in everything Hung Bucks that's on Twitter. Like they see the word Hung Bucks and they're like @Fuller_Kiley, @Haley Ann. Like that's just who we are at this point. But yeah, that's really what we're doing. Like, and it's come out by the time this has come out, but we're gonna do an Elite episode, sort of our intro into the Elite story. Okay. We brought Kyle on, my Code of Honor podcast co-host, and he has a story he wants to do about Jimmy Jacobs. So we have lots of stuff that's happening there. We have a YouTube channel and a Twitch, and we're going to do a bunch of stuff there. Code of Honor podcast is a little bit weird this month because I'm traveling and Kyle's traveling and whatever. But Tag Talk is still going to continue as normal. We're still going to do all the Tag Talk things. I think people were worried that it was, you know, RIP Tag Talk, but it isn't. We're still doing Tag Talk. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff about trios. We also have a few, like, things we're working on that we aren't sure if they're going to happen yet for Tag Talk, but by the time this comes out, you guys will know if it had happened. So hopefully. But yeah, our big thing, fingers crossed. Our big thing is romanticized wrestling, and there's a lot of people who are excited for it. So I think I'm really excited.
Yeah, when I was talking to Haley earlier this week, but when these come out wise 2 weeks ago, it's a thing. Nobody asked how my brain works. I don't know. Her and I were talking about romanticized wrestling because, of course, she's your tag partner. So if I talk to her about it, I'm obviously going to talk to you about it, whether you brought it up or not. Like, it's been on screen. It's like your little logo. I decided to use that because I used it for her. I was like, it only makes sense. It's romanticized wrestling. The logo's adorable. Her and I were talking about that, how she created it and like literally created it. And I was like, couldn't be me. I'm one of the people who's very interested in what you guys are doing because I'm big into the stories of wrestling. Yeah, I love me some athleticism, love me some bruisers, some heavy men, Wardlow, dominant women, Rhea Ripley. Like it's a thing. It's a theme. TikTok, don't listen. But like stories are so interesting. Like custody of Dominic, that story, like that's what got people hooked on SmackDown at that time, or one of the things, but like the main thing that got them hooked in it. And I definitely think what you guys are doing and everything you guys will talk about is going to be good for the IWC because they need to remember what the stories are and how good stories can be. And I know with you and Haley, like, I didn't get the chance to read the Hangman butterfly effect thing yet because I was at work, so I didn't get the chance to. Because I literally asked you, I was like, what's going on Twitter today? And you told me everyone's at war. So when I read that, I just know it's going to be good because I've seen the passion the two of you have with this in general, so I can't wait to see what you guys are going to continue to do with this. I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot to us when people are really invested in it, because like you said, I do think a lot of wrestling fans have gotten away from stories, and they don't watch wrestling like looking for story elements to it.
Yeah.
And not every wrestling match has to have like a life-changing story, but there's always psychology in stories in wrestling, and the wrestlers do it. But I feel like a lot of fans, maybe that's a generalization, but I do think that in 2022 we've definitely gotten away from it. People just expect something extremely physical or extremely violent in some cases, and that's fun, and that has its place, these just spectacle matches.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of wrestlers like Kenny Omega, to bring him up again, and the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page, and Eddie Kingston, and Roman Reigns, and Carmelo Hayes, and all these guys who really do work hard to craft these stories. And I think when fans pick up on it, it makes the wrestling experience that much greater. And especially like two people or a group of people talking about it, like talking about a story, because everyone has, they pick up on different things, or they interpret something a little bit differently, and it makes it so much better. Like there's only so much you and I could talk about like a super kick or like a frog splash or something. Like it's cool and we could talk about it, but it's like when we can talk about the stories, like, when we're recording this, this week's Dynamite, there was a big, angle with Hangman Page and the Young Bucks, and like you could talk about, oh, I liked Hangman Page's butterfly jeans, and here's everything that has to do with butterflies and Hangman Page, and I could be like, oh, but it's Hangman Page and Matt Jackson, who are kind of like Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi. Yeah. Like we could talk about these stories, and it makes it so much better. So that's really what we're trying to do with romanticized wrestling, is, not to make things crazy or dramatic, or like, some people, have, said, well, stories are like overtly feminine, or it's not. If you get into the stories of wrestling, I promise you will have a much better time, and you will fight less. You really will. You will fight way less.
Honestly. And so Kylie, I have been asking you questions for like the better part of an hour. Do you have any questions for me? It can be podcast, yes, it can be personal, it can be anything. I'm an open book.
Okay, well, my first question is, do you have an Adam Cole plushie behind you?
I do, yes. This is Adam.
I've been staring at him this whole time.
He's my little co-host. He kind of just, I would like to point out, because my friends keep saying he's in the corner. This is not the corner of the wall. He's on my record player, which I haven't touched in a year, in front of behind two little Among Us people that I got, because they're actually dog toys. Aww. They're squeaky. I didn't realize that at the time when I bought them off Etsy, but I was like, they're cute and they're green, so why not? Yeah. So he's just here. I bought him before he left WWE, thank God, or else I never would have had my little co-host. But yes, Adam Cole.
I love that. I've been, been sitting here talking, and my eyes keep going to Adam Cole. I'm like, is that Adam Cole? It has to be Adam Cole.
It is.
I love that. So I take it you're an Adam Cole fan.
I am. Now, I mean, you can kind of thank Adam for the Hung Bucks kind of getting reunited on Dynamite.
But Adam Cole can thank the Hung Bucks for making AW so he can come and do things that he enjoys.
That's also true. I mean, I'm also very upset that he's still not medically cleared, which sucks.
I know. I feel so. Maybe he'll be medically cleared by the time this comes out, and we're just so stupid right now.
Oh my God.
But I feel like so bad for him, and Kyle O'Reilly too. So like they can't do trios.
Yeah, because like everyone thought, UE, Hung Bucks, or Kenny and the Bucks. Like everyone was thinking like those were gonna be like the final two teams at least. Can't fucking happen now. That's probably why they ended up doing the turn when they did on Wednesday, because Kyle and fucking Adam aren't cleared, so they're like, oh, we gotta do something.
Poor Bobby Fish, Mr. Robert Fish, like he has nothing to do.
Mr. Robert Fish Sr. over here can't do anything. He's just gotta sit in his rocking chair.
Did you see him Dynamite though? He's graying rapidly.
Listen, I love when people are just like, oh, Bobby Fish remembers, like, the Civil War. Like, everyone thinks he's so old, and it is one of my favorite things to see.
It's so funny. Do you want a story about him?
Of course I do.
So like I said earlier, like, I a lot for wrestling, and I go to so many AW shows, but every pay-per-view that I go to, I have an encounter with Bobby Fish. And so, what show was it? I think it was a Dynamite. It was a Dynamite in Miami. We got to the airport super early. We were leaving Miami, and I look up, and the man in front of me, he has a mask on, of course, because it's COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, is this Bobby Fish in front of me right now? And I'm like looking, like he has an AW bag, and I'm like, but is it like it could just be like a cosplayer? I'm like looking, it was Robert Fish in front of me at the airport, and guess what? He was wearing flip flops, bare feet in the airport at 5 a.m. I thought it was scandalous. And he had on a baseball cap.
No. Tell this man it ain't 1912. Tell him to stop this. Like, who does he think he is? Robert Fish Sr.
Robert Fish Sr., what are you doing? The flip-flops. And they were old man flip-flops, too. They weren't, like, fashionable ones. They were, like, you know when you go to the barbecue and, like, all the suburban dads have on those flip-flops that look like they're wood?
Mm-hmm.
That was those.
I'm not even fucking surprised. In the slightest. God damn it, Bobby Fish.
So listen, I love him, though. He's such a meme.
Literally Robert a meme. Fish. Robert Fish Sr. That is the meme that is coming out of this episode. I hope everybody enjoys it. At the very end. So you had to have listened this long. Sorry. It's where the meme is. Did you,
Yeah. You gotta put the memes at the end.
Oh. Yeah, of course. Did you have anything else for me? Any other questions you wanted to ask me?
I did, but now I've forgotten them all in like the Robert Fish discussion.
Damn it,
oh
Robert
my goodness!
Fish.
No, but this was such a good time, and I don't know. It's just kindred spirits, you know.
I mean, my last name is Kinder, so
the dots are connecting.
They really are. Yeah, not a lot of people know that. But yeah, it's my last name. So I think that's
oh my goodness.
So funny.
And oh my that is listen, I'm not saying that me, you, and Haley need to do a show together, but I'm saying we need to do a show together.
It's by the time this comes out, the show's probably already happened. We're manifesting it.
Probably. Oh, yes. I've learned that manifesting works great. I manifested Kenny Omega's return, and, like, the next day, Sean Rossett said he was coming back. So, listen, we're powerful.
Women were witches back in the day. I mean, I'm not saying we still are, but we might be. So, thank you again for doing this with me, Kylie. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you and everything you're on?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter, at Fuller_Kylie. I post everything I'm doing or, like, there. And I also, you know, I live tweet. I tweet memes. I'll have to tweet a Robert Fish meme at some point. But yeah, follow me on Twitter, and, like, if you're interested in stuff I'm doing, I always post it there. You can see me on Body Slam, the Body Slam YouTube channel every Monday at 3 for the Code of Honor podcast. We talk about Ring of Honor, which we finally have, like, some content to talk about. But if you go in, like, the archives Code of Honor podcast, there's a lot of history episodes. So if you're into that, Code of Honor podcast. You can see me on Tag Talk on Fightful Overbooked every Sunday at 5. We talk tag team wrestling. When this episode comes out, we just did an episode about the trios titles. So hopefully it ages well by the time this comes out, because we made some bold assumptions there, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, anything else that I'm doing, I just post on my Twitter. Oh, and Romanticized Wrestling. Follow at Romantic Wrestle on Twitter. By the time you're seeing this, we probably have, you know, a library of content for you guys to see. So check that out.
Yeah, and if you're all not following Kylie and Haley in Romanticized Wrestling, we're going to have some words in person. Hands will be thrown. Maybe. I will fight for them.
I didn't tell her to say that, by the way.
She did not. Under my own free will, I am saying this. I will die for these women. Damn it, I will. Kindred spirits, I told you.
In the IWC war, I know who to call.
I will lead the charge, baby. Anytime you need me, I got you. Relay this message to Haley later. I didn't tell her
I will. I got my phone at the ready. I'll let her know.
Literally after her and I got off, she was just like, I'm texting Kiley right now. I had so much fun. I was like, please don't hype me up too much. And she did. And I'm like, shit.
She did. She was like, I had so much fun. It was like the best time. And she sent me a voice message. And she was telling me all about it. And I'm like in Target. I'm like grocery shopping. And I'm like listening. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have so much fun with this thing. And I did.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Obviously I have to do my shameful little plug. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at KidderSM13, the link tree in my bio to take all things ShElite Showcase, twitch.tv/ShElite Showcase, Thursdays 6 p.m. Eastern, unless something happens, youtube.com/ShElite Showcase. I always say watch the videos because they're way more entertaining, and I'm Italian, so I talk with my hands a lot, and I always hit my mic because it's just in my way. Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, if you want to listen to my voice. I'm so sorry. ShElite's the weekly recap Savannah and I do. This is my interview series, of course. This is my pride and joy. This is my baby. This is the thing I'm probably most proud of. I always tell people that. In the Crowd is currently on a hiatus. If you want to see everything that has been in the past, go check all that out. And of course, Savannah has her own New Japan show. I don't know jack shit about New Japan. That is all her. I just upload the videos. That's what I do. But again, Kiley, thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been so much fun.
I had such a good time. My favorite part was Irish Barack Obama. And Robert Fish Sr. There's a dot there to connect. I don't know what the dot is to connect yet. But I think if you look through Robert Fish's family tree, you'll find Barack Obama. That's all I'm saying.
You might, and that's how we're ending this. Everyone, do your research. Figure out, is Robert Fish Sr., Bobby Fish, connected to Barack Obama? Let us know.
Question mark?
Question mark? Upside down question marks? Let us know. And hopefully the next time you see us, it'll be with Haley on a show the three of us are doing together.
Yes.
Okay, bye everybody.